The preseason has come to a close for the New York Giants, and Joe Schoen is already cutting some players, and we got to talk about it, as well as I'm going to give you my biggest winners and losers coming out of the win against the New England Patriots. Before we do, though, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, because when the Giants make a move, we make a video. And with them already cutting 4 players, you're going to want to hear about it. So subscribe and turn those notifications on. This is New York Giants Now by Chat Sports, and I am Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for rolling in. On today's show, we're going to tell you the players who were winners and losers, and also let you know who the 4 players that were cut by the New York Giants. And I'm not going to call any of these surprise cuts, but I do think they are a little bit interesting. And let's start with Montrell Washington, who was just released by the New York Giants. This was a player that made some plays in preseason week 1 against the Buffalo Bills, and he also had some highlights in the early portion of training camp. Remember, he had that one-handed catch from Jaxson Dart. He was also a player that was building some good continuity with Dart. He was able to contribute a little bit on special teams as well, and overall, a solid preseason of 7 receptions for 105 yards, but I think those 2 drops on third down against the Bills in preseason week 1 didn't really do anything that helped him make the roster. So you look now at the wide receiver depth chart. Nabers, Robinson, Slayton, and I believe Jalin Hyatt are all going to make this football team. That leaves 2 spots open at this point. Gunnar Olszewski has looked good. Ihmir Smith-Marsette is in that conversation. Lil Jordan Humphrey and Beau Collins will also be there. So more tough decisions to come for the Giants when it comes to this wide receiver room. They're also moving on from offensive lineman Jason Williams. And maybe it's a little unfair to call these guys week 3 losers, but I tried to figure out a way to include them in the show because the Giants, they are making moves, and we got to tell you about it. I didn't think Williams played all that bad in the preseason. At 24 years old, had a PFF grade of 69.1, a pass block grade north of 79, and the run block grade a little bit low, but not the worst in the world. So good luck to Jason Williams. Maybe he returns to the practice squad. I could see Montrell Washington doing that as well, but the cuts are coming, and there's more to come on the offensive line for Big Blue as well. Nice to see Andrew Thomas back on the depth chart off the PUP list. He is expected to play week 1, but you're looking at guys like maybe Josh Azudu, maybe Hudson, maybe Schlottman, maybe Kubis, maybe Forsythe. More moves will come on this cut down date for the O-line depth chart, so make sure you are subscribed. Jordan Bllye, the UDFA wide receiver, he has also been released by the New York Giants. So 2 cuts already at the wide receiver room. This undrafted free agent made some plays in training camp, had 2 receptions for 49 yards in the 3 preseason games, but it was always going to be an uphill battle for him to make this squad. Like, it's tough to make it as a UDFA, and with the Giants having some guys that were already locked into the position, it was going to be tough. So you look at the depth chart again, more cuts to be coming. Juice Wells, I think he might end up being cut. I thought at one point Dalen Cambry would have an opportunity to make this team. I don't know if that's going to happen. Daquan Felton most likely will be cut. And then it'll be a conversation between Gunnar Olszewski, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Beau Collins, and Ihmir Smith-Marsette for potentially those final 2 roster spots. A player that did not get cut is Evan Neal. And he's on today's show as a loser because he did not play well against the New England Patriots. And I think his fate is now sealed that he is not going to be a starter on this team. In the game yesterday, he allowed 4 pressures on 22 pass blocking snaps. The broadcast made a low-light highlight reel of his game. Everyone criticized me for saying he did not play well against the Jets. Well, he did not. And you know what? I'm going to take my victory lap a little bit here. Feel vindicated because he was even worse against the Patriots. Bad last night, but in totality in the preseason, not good as well. 5 pressures allowed in just 46 pass blocking snaps. It's just disappointing, man. One of the biggest busts of all time. A bigger bust than Eric Flowers, I believe, at this point. And I just don't see where he's going to play this year. I think we're locked into the 5 starters of Thomas, Runyon, John Michael Schmitz, Greg Van Roten, and Jermaine Illuminor. Those are the best 5 guys. Best 5 guys should play, and the best 5 guys are going to play. There was hope that Evan Neal could steal that starting right guard spot. he can't pass protect. And if you can't pass protect against backup defensive linemen and guys that are getting cut today, you just can't play in the National Football League on Sundays. Beau Collins, he was on the winners list last week. He's on the losers list this week. That's the life of an undrafted free agent. I had him down for 2 drops yesterday. The first one I think was a little bit tough. Dart was hit on the throw because Evan Neal got beat on that one, but it would have been a really good catch. I want to say it's a catchable ball. I don't know if I'm going to classify. PFF clearly didn't classify that as a drop. I personally will. But you also had another one where he's going right across the middle of the field. If he was wearing a shirt with a pocket in it, Jaxson Dart put it in the shirt pocket, and he dropped the ball. And for a player that's trying to make this roster, you can't drop the football. That's the number one job of a wide receiver. I know you had the 80-yard catch last week from Russell Wilson, but last week's successes don't equal today's pluses, and yesterday was a negative for me, and I think we might see him on the outside looking in of the Giants roster at this point. Like, I don't know if Beau Collins will make the team. He catches those 2 passes yesterday. He makes chunk plays yesterday. There's more of a conversation for him to make this team. But I just don't know if we're going to get there at this point. And I know he scored a touchdown, that being Jalin Hyatt. He's a loser for me in week 3. I like the mental toughness. I like the ability to move on to the next play. But before he caught that touchdown from Jameis Winston, he dropped 2 passes on deep balls. You're supposed to be a deep threat. You got to catch the football. I applaud him for getting open on all 3 reps, but you were going up against backup DBs that are going to be on practice squads in a couple of days. So unfortunate showing for him. Good to see him bounce back with a touchdown, but the 2 drops, they overshadow the touchdown for me last night, as the Patriots are going to end up cutting number 19. The Giants are also cutting Deontay Johnson. That was the 4th player who has been cut today. The inside linebacker, UDFA, out of Toledo, his 2nd summer with the New York Giants. I thought he had a chance to actually make the roster last year. Didn't bounce back as well this year. Didn't play all that well. There was an opportunity for an inside linebacker to make this team. Deontay Johnson, he unfortunately does not. Maybe returns to the practice squad. But I'm not sure. I do know this, though. We're going to keep you updated all year long, and now is our time to shine. So make sure you subscribe. Help us get to 80,000 subscribers. And in return, we'll give you free videos, multiple videos, every day on your New York Football Giants. And we'll be the first place on YouTube telling you about every roster move. Coming up next, preseason winners. We usually start with the winners and then go to the losers, but I wanted to get the actual transactions out of the way. So winners coming up. You know we're talking about Jaxson frickin' Dart. But first, with football season here now and preseason over and college football right around the corner, Prize Picks is back as a sponsor here on New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. And they're back with an awesome promo deal. When you download the app or go to prizepicks.com and you use the promo code CLNS, play your first $5 lineup, you're going to get $50 in lineups for free. Super fun. Super easy. It makes game days that much more fun. All you do is create a lineup of 2 to 6 players, and you simply pick more or you pick less on the player projection stat line that Prize Picks has set. It can take less than 60 seconds to make a lineup, and you can win big, up to 2,000 times your entry. It's awesome stuff. And I have my week 1 lineup already made. I know I never root for the Cowboys, but I am rooting for Dak Prescott to throw for 1 passing yard, because Prize Picks, they do these awesome things where they pretty much give you a freebie. Dak at half a passing yard. I'll take the more on that. I'm going to take Malik Nabers to get in the end zone. I'll take the more on that. That's considered a demon. Demons are harder to achieve, which means the payout is higher. And the lock of all locks, Daniel Jones, less passing yards in week 1. If I am correct on all 3 of these, I'm going to win 7 times my money. You can ride or die with me. Just play Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS. Play your first $5 lineup and get $50 in lineups instantly. Because I love and care about you, I'll make sure all that information is clickable down in the comments and description. My biggest winner from the game, shock, Jaxson Dart. I actually think this was Jaxson Dart's best game in the preseason. I know he went 6 of 12 last night. I don't think the stat line paints the full picture of what he did. There were multiple drops. Hyatt had 2, Beau Collins had 2, and Brian Dable said it in the post-game presser. He thought every pass he threw should have been completed. There was one I didn't agree with. He attacked the front pylon to Fidone in the end zone. Ball was a little bit uncatchable. But every other pass was on time, on target, and catchable. And he was awesome in the entire preseason. Completed 68% of his passes, threw for 372 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, another one on the ground, no interceptions, no negative plays, rarely took sacks, had an adjusted completion percentage of 77.8. So if you factor in drops and you turn those drops to catches, Jaxson Dart would have completed almost 78% of his passes. Not much more we could have asked for him. And I know everyone's talking about it, so I'm just going to say it as well. It's going to be tough to keep Jaxson Dart on the bench for that long. I think Russell Wilson is still the best quarterback on this roster, but if this team starts off slow, they go 1-4 headed into New Orleans in week 5, or 1-3 headed into week 5. You might just see number 6 under center. I still say take your time. No need to rush him, but it's hard to keep talented and good football players on the side, and that's exactly what Jaxson Dart is. Had a lot of fun watching him play preseason football. I just have one ask. Slide. Slide, 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 slide. Do not get hurt. You put your team at risk by fumbling that football. You put yourself at risk by having to be taken out of the game. Learn from it. Might be the best thing that ever happened to him in the preseason is he got a little reckless, and it was a double negative. It was a turnover, and you got hurt. Caused you to miss time. Learn from it. We all love you. Giants quarterbacks were awesome this preseason, and Tommy DeVito put on a clinic of how to play preseason quarterback last night. 17-20 for Tommy DeVito last night. I believe he threw 3 touchdowns as well. DeVito was awesome last night. Almost 200 yards passing, 0 interceptions. You can see the growth, and I'm going to credit that to Tommy DeVito as well as Brian Dable and Mike Kafka. They were able to take a young, undrafted free agent quarterback, put him on the path to success, and he is getting better after better and better year after year. I think at this point, the Giants are not going to be able to bring him back to the practice squad. Giants aren't keeping 4 quarterbacks. They're going to have to cut him or Jameis Winston. I believe they probably cut DeVito. But, man, maybe they could trade Tommy DeVito. There are some teams out there that need a backup quarterback, like the Dallas Cowboys, like the Minnesota Vikings, the New Orleans Saints. They could use a quarterback. If you could maybe send DeVito in a 7th for a 6th or DeVito in a 6th for a 5th and get some back for him and keep Jameis Winston on the team, that'd be awesome. Giants have a good problem on their hands. They actually have 4 NFL caliber quarterbacks on this roster, where last year they had the worst quarterback room I've ever seen in my life. Who the hell is Tim Boyle? If you know, you know. Greg Dulcich, he's a preseason winner in totality for me, but also a preseason week 3 winner. Shout out to producer Tex on the 1s and 2s. The flow from this guy is unbelievable. That makes him a winner by himself. But when you put up 7 receptions for 53 yards and not 1, not 2, but 3 touchdowns in 3 preseason games, you're applying pressure and you're putting heat to the seat of Brian Dable and Joe Schoen because you have earned a roster spot. Your play on the football field, I think, has earned you a spot. But as we know, it sometimes comes down to numbers and money and draft pick priority. Theo Johnson's making this football team. I believe Chris Manhertz is going to make this team as a blocker as well. Are the Giants going to keep 3 tight ends, or are they going to keep 4 tight ends? I'm looking at Daniel Bellinger. I think he's a good player, but business is business. It's strictly financial, and he has a $3 million cap hit. And I think the Giants could cut him because of that. We've seen that in the past. Maybe they force him into a pay cut. Dulcich has earned a roster spot. Fidone has been awesome in the preseason as well. Shout out to the 7th-round pick for him. I just don't see how Bellinger makes this team because I think Fidone and Dulcich should be on this roster, and we know Theo Johnson is as well. Maybe the Giants keep 4 tight ends. They got a lot of talent there. Shout out to the personnel and the roster-building staff. They deserve some credit for that. Gunnar Olszewski is a preseason winner for me and also a preseason winner in week 3. I think he makes the team. I don't know how he doesn't make the team. He made play after play after play. 10 grabs for a $112 and a touchdown in preseason. And this is a guy that is known as a special team specialist. So he could be your kick returner. He could be your punt returner. And I think he's your second best slot wide receiver on this football team. Like, you don't really have another NFL slot receiver. Like, Zach Pascal's not that guy. I don't think Amir Smith-Marset, who I like a lot as a returner, He gives you nothing as a receiver. I did like the wrinkle they threw in last night with the Wildcat set to just get him a rep and get him the ball in his hands. But Gunnar Olszewski has showed you, if it's man-to-man coverage and he's in the slot, he can get open and he can win. And if you can contribute as a receiver and be the return specialist that he is, you got a great chance to make this team. I think at this point, I'm going to have him in my 53-man roster, as I am going to have with Trace Ford, the undrafted free agent edge, I believe, at Oklahoma. I'm not going to say Boomer Sooner because we got producer Tex on the ones and twos. But Trace Ford deserves some credit, man. This was someone I didn't even think had a shot to make this football team. 7 tackles, 7 pressures, 6 quarterback hurries. If you can get after the passer in the NFL, you're going to have an opportunity to make this team. And we've seen that. But last night, I thought he set the edge extremely well a couple times in the run game as well. And you know you have Brian Burns, you know you have Kayvon Thibodeau and Abdul Carter are going to make the team. And Chauncey Golston is going to make the team. But it is a battle between Timon Fox and Trace Ford. They have to keep 5 edge rushers. And I think Ford has earned the right with his play to get that nod over to Timon Fox. Fox can go to the practice squad. He can go back and forth on the practice squad and the active roster. But Trace Ford, man, there's just a little bit more juice there. And I've been impressed with what he put on the field in the preseason. And that's it. That's the end of the preseason. The real shebang. It's here. And we're getting closer and closer because the Giants are making cuts to get to their 53-man NFL roster. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have those notifications on. We'll be the first place on YouTube letting you know about all of the Giants' moves over the next couple of days and 365 days a year. Make sure you are subscribed and you are following me on social media. First place you'll hear about any Giants news is on my Twitter. So give me a follow at @MarshallGreen_.